Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh's accuser now has a name. She has come forward. She is Palo Alto University psychology professor Christine Blasey Ford. Ford says that at a house party in the early 1980s, while they were both in high school in suburban Washington, D.C., a drunken Brett Kavanaugh tried to hold her down and sexually assault her. She said she was afraid at the time. Well, several Republican senators have already said they want additional testimony from both Ford and Kavanaugh, and it looks like Ford will be testifying on Monday of next week before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Not clear if it's going to be public or not. But for the first time, because of this, Kavanaugh's nomination appears to be in some actual trouble. Democrats, though, are not waiting for more information. They're already rendering judgment on what he did.
And we're looking at brushing a potentially an extremely concerning incident under the rug, which should not be occurring.
Do you believe her story?
Well, I could tell you it really does have a ring of truth to it.
I think the allegations of Professor Ford are extremely credible. I don't think the allegations that this is political at all. Senator Feinstein did the right thing, because when a woman is abused, it is her prerogative as to how, where, why, when, if at all, it should come out.
Well, they're all very, very deeply concerned. What's telling is that Democrats have known about this allegation for weeks. They could have asked Kavanaugh about it any time during his hearings. He was sitting right in front of them. And that's, of course, what you would do if you cared about the answer to the question. But they didn't. Instead, they waited. And the point, of course, was to derail his nomination. The timing was entirely political. Anyone who says otherwise is not telling the truth. But what about the core story itself? What happened in the early 80s in suburban Maryland? Well, come to your own conclusions. People will come to their own conclusions. But for this show, we are not dismissing Christine Ford as a liar. Doesn't seem like she is. It seems like she sincerely believes everything she is saying. But that does not mean that she is right. Human memory is notoriously unreliable, especially over time. What were you doing one drunk night in the spring of 1982? Don't remember clearly? Of course you don't. It's been 36 years. Past a certain point, the past is unknowable, and that's why we have statutes of limitation for crimes. Not because our desire for justice dims, but because the chance of achieving it does. Everybody knows this, the left included. This story doesn't have anything to do with justice, actually, or even with what Brett Kavanaugh may have done in high school. Underneath it all, anyone who lives in Washington can tell you it's about abortion. Does anyone really believe the story would have surfaced if Brett Kavanaugh had pledged allegiance to Roe v. Wade? Of course it wouldn't have. Some of the very same people suggesting that Kavanaugh is a sex criminal once defended Bill Clinton when he was credibly accused of rape. The same group practically beatified Ted Kennedy. Kennedy, you'll remember, once killed a woman. Not metaphorically killed her, but literally killed her. And yet Clinton and Kennedy supported abortion in all cases, and therefore the left treated them as heroes and swept, speaking of under the rug, their crimes into the dustbin of memory. Kavanaugh, though, may not support Roe v. Wade. We don't really know. Therefore, he must be destroyed. It's pretty straightforward. Whatever the story is, it's not about protecting women. Don't buy that spin. The larger lesson, though, of this moment, and actually of the past 2 years, is that the left will not abide losing power, even temporarily. For liberals, political power is personal power, and without it, they are exposed and terrified. Some become vicious. If you've lost friends since Trump got elected or been yelled at over dinner or on an airplane, you know exactly what we're talking about. Liberals believe they were meant to run this country, our government, and our culture. They have no intention of sharing control with you. If they're not in charge, they'll burn it down, which is what they're doing now. The question, the political question for right now is, will the Republican Party let them do this? If Republicans allow Kavanaugh's nomination to be derailed over an unprovable allegation he can't rebut, it's over. They'll never put a justice on the court again. It'll be too easy to stop them. A single charge from 35 years ago will be enough. That's the precedent they would set. And let us pause parenthetically and say, we may learn more in the coming week. Who knows? And the calculation may change. But as of today, there is no way to prove either way what happened 35 years ago in Bethesda, Maryland. It's an unsolvable mystery, again, unless something else comes up. So to just derail a nomination on the basis of it would be a brand new thing. Republican voters put up with a lot already, including a party leadership that does not share their values or even like them very much. It doesn't hide it well. They vote Republican anyway, in part because they would like to see judges who care about the Constitution sitting on the Supreme Court. Once that's gone, what's the point of voting Republican? Tammy Bruce is a radio show host and president of Independent Women's Voice, and she joins us tonight. So, Tammy, I just want to be totally clear. I am not impugning the character of this woman. We actually have a mutual friend who says she's a very good person,
Sure.
and I believe that she believes what she's saying. I just don't think
Sure.
that means it's right, accurate. But what bothers me is the political use to which this story is being put right now. It seems very hypocritical.
Well, see, that's it. You know, we really don't know what happened 36 years ago. And no matter what happens in hearings, we also still won't know. And that's what makes it so appealing to the Democrats. Now, for me, as an advocate for women, I care about the nature of the fight that's gone on for generations. To have women be taken seriously about sexual violence with strangers or acquaintances or loved ones. And yet this kind of politicizing of an event like this, as it's alleged, really makes a mockery of all of our experiences as women when we've encountered that kind of a situation. So that's my concern. And Americans are watching this.
May I ask you to pause right there?
Yeah,
Tell
sure.
me, how does it make a mockery of that? Can you elaborate?
Well, look, we've been told, or at least we were dismissed before when we complained about domestic violence or the way that we're treated in a society that suggests, of course, through pornography and other means, that we are to be abused, that our role in society is limited, and we're to be used for either the pleasure of men or other people, and that if we don't perform properly, you know, we'll pay the price for that. And we've said we're better than that, right? We've got a right to be treated well. We want a legal system that listens to our complaints, and that we are serious. These are serious issues that happen to all women across the board. It's not a partisan issue, right? It affects us. So when we say we want to be taken seriously and that it's because we want justice, and then allegations come forward specifically to harm someone, to be used in a manner to ruin them personally, to ruin their career, their personal reputation, and it's outside of the justice system. That it's not about the accuser being taken seriously and the accused having rights as well, because that's the only way that we're treated fairly. So we're actually saying, everyone who is saying that women can't be trusted, that women are going to use accusations against us, that comes back into play. And this is what none of us deserve this. So we want this to be a fair dynamic. Your outline, of course, put it perfectly. This is about a political dynamic. There is only one agenda forward here. For me, it's a political character assassination, and it's a shame that she's in this position and that we are, and certainly that Judge Kavanaugh is. We all deserve better. And I hope that really the one way to stop this from continuing is to confirm Judge Kavanaugh. We have this dynamic of knowing him and his history as an adult, and we can't allow allegations that can't be proven to derail this kind of dynamic when we've got all of these other elements in place.
Well, sure. And very quickly, wouldn't it be nice to have a real debate about the Constitution and how the Supreme Court interprets it, rather than to have an endless series of debates about the moral character of this nominee to that or the other thing?
Well, it's actually, this is a good example of the difference between what the conservatives want, which is a view of the Constitution, what the Supreme Court's supposed to do, which is look at the nature of what our law is supposed to provide in a reasonable, sober way, versus what the Democrats are doing. They are putting him through a star chamber. They want you to have the feelings and the feels about what it is that's going on. Forget about facts that you can prove. This is a woman who, and I give her credit, who admits she doesn't remember when it happened, what year, where it happened, how she got there, how she left. She seems to be honest in those frameworks about what she can remember and what she can't. But the fact is, this is clearly, with the way it's been handled from the start with Senator Feinstein, meant to simply be a political hatchet job.
Of course.
And it's a shame that this woman now will be put in that position. Look, for those of us who have experienced sexual violence or harassment or assault, we handle it in different ways in our lives. I'm not going to begrudge her for how she handled what she says happened to her, but right now we all have a responsibility to not have it become a charade in the name of all women in our experiences.
And when Chuck Schumer starts giving you a moral lecture, then you know that none of this is real.
Yeah.
Tammy, thank you. Great to see you.
Thank you, Tucker.